Born in 2264, Tuvok was raised by strict parents who set high academic standards, strongly encouraging him to join Starfleet Academy. Rebelling against tradition, Tuvok questioned the value of logic and suppressed emotions, even falling in love with a Terrellian girl, willing to reject all of Vulcan society in pursuit of a relationship. Yet when the girl did not return his feelings, he fell into emotional turmoil, requiring months of quiet contemplation. At last understanding the reason for their traditional beliefs, he embraced the teachings of Vulcan masters and learned to suppress emotion. Upon completing his studies, Tuvok swiftly returned to the path laid out by his parents, excelling in both academic and physical training, even completing the Tal Oath ritual by surviving 4 months in the deserts of his homeworld with nothing but a ceremonial blade. Throughout his life, Tuvok developed an interest in martial arts, the game Calto, played the lute, bred prize-winning orchids, and despite having no interest in artistic pursuits, studied the Vulcan dictates of poetics to become a talented writer, eventually creating a popular holonovel originally intended as a tactical training exercise. Obeying his parents and against his own wishes, Tuvok entered Starfleet Academy in 2289 before graduating in 2293 when he was assigned to the USS Excelsior under the famous Captain Sulu. Unfortunately, these years led him to believe humans were arrogant and undisciplined, even publicly admonishing Captain Sulu when he sought to violate Starfleet orders by rescuing his friends from an enemy prison. Having fought against the Klingon Empire, even seeing his bunkmate die in his arms during the Battle of the Azure Nebula, Tuvok joined many others in protesting against a proposed alliance with the Federation, yet it went through in any case and became a stabilizing force for the region. Thoroughly dissatisfied with his life, Tuvok finally had enough and resigned his commission after only 5 years, returning to Vulcan where he taught archery science at the Institute for Defensive Arts. Ready to embrace a new life of his choosing, he married T'Pel in 2304 and together had 4 children, becoming a dedicated husband and father. By 2349, Tuvok was at last ready to revisit the past with a more mature, open-minded attitude, and so returned to Starfleet, ready to build the career he wanted, regardless of his parents' expectations. After serving as an ensign aboard the USS Wyoming, he spent 16 years as an instructor at Starfleet Academy before returning to space. Of the relationships he forged during his time with Starfleet, he grew closest to Kathryn Janeway, first meeting her in 2356 by admonishing her in front of 3 Starfleet admirals for failing to observe proper tactical procedures. Despite her embarrassment, Janeway eventually realized he was correct and came to rely on him as a valuable officer, which then turned into a deep bond of respect and friendship. While working as Janeway's tactical officer, Tuvok was ordered to infiltrate the Maquis, a faction of former Federation worlds turned guerrilla warriors seeking independence from the Cardassian Union. Though many in the Federation were sympathetic to their cause, their peace treaty with Cardassia meant they must side against the Maquis. During Tuvok's time undercover, he served under Chakotay of the Valjean, making himself an invaluable member of the crew. However, in time his true identity was discovered by Tiro Anades, a Maquis counterintelligence agent, who chose not to reveal his discovery. Considered an extremist, Tiro instead used Tuvok for his own purposes, capturing him and programming his mind so he might one day activate as a die-hard Maquis loyalist, regardless of his true beliefs. In 2371, Captain Janeway of the USS Voyager was at last ready to end Tuvok's assignment, arranging for the capture of the Valjean crew. Yet as the 2 ships moved through the Badlands, they were unexpectedly pulled 70,000 light-years away to the Delta Quadrant by a being called the Caretaker, who sought a compatible genetic mate for reproduction. Unfortunately, the being soon died, and Captain Janeway felt it necessary to destroy the device that brought them to the Delta Quadrant, as using it to return home meant leaving the technology intact and readily available for the violent Kazon species, who ruled the region and sought to destroy the peaceful Ocampa. Looking at a 70-year journey back to Federation space, the Maquis and Starfleet crew combined, leaving Janeway as captain, Chakotay as first officer, and Lieutenant Tuvok as third in command. Fortunately, the Voyager crew proved clever and resourceful, able to reach home in only 7 years, with Tuvok playing a pivotal role during the tumultuous events of their journey. Though his primary responsibility was as Chief Tactical Officer, he also served as an advocate for those facing legal or diplomatic challenges, once even representing a member of the Q Continuum with Janeway as judge, arguing that a sentient being should have the right to end his own life. Tuvok also acted as an instructor for many in the crew, becoming a mentor to the Ocampa Kess, teaching her to control her telepathic abilities. Despite the knowledge he was unlikely to ever see his wife again, Tuvok remained committed to his marriage no matter the circumstances, rejecting the advances of Nos and Morena, two Delta Quadrant females who cared for him deeply. His loyalty was so absolute, he was even willing to risk his health, refusing to accept anyone but his wife while struck with the Pon farr, unnatural biological urge to mate occurring in Vulcans every 7 years. Understanding the problem, Tom Paris created a holographic replica of his wife, thus allowing him to complete the Pon farr ritual without shame of disloyalty. Often putting his physical and mental well-being at risk to help others, Tuvok's heroism saved the lives of many within the Voyager crew, including Captain Janeway and other senior officers. Excelling in his duties, Tuvok was promoted to Lieutenant Commander in 2374, and by 2376 had received 17 commendations of valor. Known to be serious and formal, those on Voyager with opposite characteristics did not always care for his attitude, but in time he earned their respect, even developing friendships with some, like Neelix and Tom Paris. Yet of all his fellow crew members, he most enjoyed spending time with the former Borg, 7 of 9, who shared his affinity for silence and hard work, often taking assignments together. Tuvok also came to understand the mind of a Borg drone better than most, as he was voluntarily assimilated by the collective during a mission, requiring months to fully recover from the experience. As the years went on, the Lieutenant Commander contracted a degenerative neurological condition, requiring an intensive mind meld with another Vulcan to cure. Unfortunately, no one aboard Voyager was compatible, and so the only way to save his sanity was by returning to the Alpha Quadrant as soon as possible. Yet when Voyager was presented with such an opportunity, through the use of a Borg transwarp hub, Tuvok refused to inform Captain Janeway of his condition, as using this technology meant passing up the chance to destroy it, thereby dealing a significant blow to the Borg and saving countless lives. Fortunately, the Voyager crew found a way to attack the transwarp hub, while also using it to return to Earth, finally ending their journey through the Delta Quadrant in time for Tuvok to receive treatment and be cured of his condition.